Chapter 2. The President and the Vice President. Introduction. In this lesson, we will learn about the Union Executive, the President, qualifications for election, composition of electoral college, reason for indirect election, term of office, procedure for impeachment, powers, executive, legislative, financial, judicial, discretionary, and emergency. The Vice President, qualifications for election, term of office, and powers. President. The executive power of the Indian Union is vested in the President. He exercises this power either directly or through officers subordinated to him in accordance with the Constitution. The President is the head of the state and the supreme commander of the defense forces of India. The President exercises his powers on the advice of the Prime Minister and the Council of Ministers. The Constitution provides that there shall be a Council of Ministers with the Prime Minister at the head. According to the 42nd Amendment Act, it is necessary for the President to exercise his or her functions in accordance with the advice of the Council of Ministers. Election of the President. The people directly elect members of the Lok Sabha, the Rajya Sabha. Elected members of the Rajya Sabha elect the President. People directly elect members of the state legislative assemblies, and the elected members of the state legislative assemblies elect the President. Thus, the people indirectly elect the President. Qualifications for election. 1. A person shall be eligible for election as President if he A. is a citizen of India, B. has completed the age of 35 years, and C. is qualified for election as a member of the Lok Sabha. 2. A person shall not be eligible for election as President if he holds any office of profit under the Government of India or government of any state or under any local or other authority subject to the control of any of the said governments. However, a person is not deemed to hold an office of profit by reason only that he is President or Vice President or a minister either for the Union or for any state. A person who holds or who has held office as President shall be eligible for re-election to that office subject to other provisions of the Constitution. Composition of the Electoral College. The President is elected indirectly by the members of an electoral college consisting of 1. The elected members of both houses of Parliament. 2. The elected members of the legislative assemblies of the states, including National Capital Territory of Delhi and the Union Territory of Puducherry. Nominated members of either House of Parliament and state assemblies are not eligible to be included in the Electoral College.
अगर आप अपने सिलेबस के सारे चैप्टर्स इस फॉर्मेट में देखना चाहते हैं तो हमें डिस्क्रिप्शन में दिए गए नंबर पर कॉल करें.
Composition of the Electoral College. A presidential candidate will have to be proposed by 50 members of the Electoral College, MPs or MLAs, and seconded by another 50 members. Earlier, the requirement was 10 proposers and 10 seconders. This was increased by an ordinance promulgated in June 1997 that became an Act of Parliament on August 29, 1997. The ordinance also raised the security deposit of a candidate for the presidential election from Rs 2,500 to Rs 15,000. The election of the President is held in accordance with the system of proportional representation by means of the single transferable vote, and the voting of such election is by secret ballot. Manner of election. There is uniformity in the scale of representation of the different states as far as possible. 1. Every elected member of the Legislative Assembly of a state has as many votes as there are multiples of 1,000 in the quotient obtained by dividing the population of the state by the total number of elected members of the Assembly. The voting power of an elected member of a Vidhan Sabha is calculated according to the following formula. Total population of state divided by number of elected members of Vidhan Sabha into 1000. The following illustration will help to make the process clear. Total population of a state is 10 million. Total number of elected MLAs 250. Total number of votes of each member is equal to 10 million divided by 250 divided by 1000, which equals 40. 2. Each elected member of parliament has such number of votes as obtained by dividing the total number of votes assigned to MLAs of the states by the total number of elected members of parliament. Thus, value of the vote of an MP is equal to total number of votes assigned to MLAs of all states divided by total number of elected MPs. Single transferable vote system. Under the single transferable vote system, all candidates are listed and the elector gives them numbers according to his preference. In other words, the voters marks as many preferences 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6 onwards on the ballot paper as there are candidates. Now once the votes are cast, the first preference votes are counted. If any candidate gets an absolute majority or more than 50% of the votes, he is declared elected. If no candidate is able to get an absolute majority in the first preference votes, then the candidate who has secured the least votes is eliminated and his second preference votes are taken into consideration. This process of elimination continues until a candidate gets an absolute majority and he is declared elected. The 29th Constitution Amendment Act 1975 and the 44th Constitution Amendment Act 1978 lay down that any dispute over the election of the President shall be decided by the Supreme Court of India. Reason for indirect election. 1. If the President was to be elected directly by the people, he could become a rival centre of power to the Council of Ministers. This would be against the parliamentary system with ministerial responsibility. As Jawaharlal Nehru said in the Constituent Assembly, we could not have a directly elected president and not give him real powers. 2. Since the membership in the two houses of parliament was likely to be dominated by one party, election of the president merely by a majority of members of the Union Parliament could make him a nominee of the ruling party like the Prime Minister. Such a president could not represent the constituent states of the Union. 3. The president is elected by an electoral college. In India, the electoral college consists of the elected members of the two houses of parliament and legislative assemblies of the states, Article 54. Such an electoral college would make the president the elected representative of the whole nation with a clear voice given to the states as well.
अगर आप अपने सिलेबस के सारे चैप्टर्स इस फॉर्मेट में देखना चाहते हैं तो हमें डिस्क्रिप्शन में दिए गए नंबर पर कॉल करें.
Oath, term and vacation of office. Oath of office. Before entering upon his office, the President takes an oath in the presence of the Chief Justice of India or in his absence, the senior-most judge of the Supreme Court to 1. Discharge the functions of the President of India. 2. Preserve, protect and defend the Constitution and the law. And 3. Devote himself to the service and well-being of the people of India. Term of office. The President shall hold office for a term of 5 years from the date on which he enters upon his office. He shall continue to hold office, notwithstanding the expiry of his term, until his successor takes charge. Vacation of office. 1. The President may submit his resignation letter to the Vice President in order to resign his office. Such resignation will be communicated by the Vice President to the Speaker of the Lok Sabha. 2. The President may, for the violation of the Constitution, be removed from the office by the process of impeachment. Procedure for impeachment of the President. When a President is to be impeached for violation of the Constitution, either House of Parliament can level the charge as follows. A. Resolution which is moved after at least 14 days' notice in writing, signed by not less than 1/4 of the total number of members of the House. And B. The resolution is passed by a majority of not less than 2/3 of the total membership of the House. 2. When a charge has been so preferred by either House of Parliament, the other House will investigate the charge and the President has the right to appear and to be represented at such an investigation. 3. If, as a result of the investigation, a resolution is passed by a majority of not less than 2/3 of the total membership of the House, by which the charge was investigated, declaring that the charge has been sustained, such a resolution will have the effect of removing the President from his office. Powers of the President of India. Executive powers. The executive powers of the President include 1. Head of the Union Administration. All executive orders are issued in the name of the President. All the Union officials are his subordinates. 2. Appointment of officials of the state. The President makes appointments to key posts to run the government's administration. He appoints A. The Prime Minister and the Council of Ministers on the Prime Minister's advice. He summons the leader of the majority group in the Parliament and asks him to form the government. B. The Chief Justice and the judges of the Supreme Court and the High Courts. C. The governors of the states. D. The lieutenant governors and the chief commissioners of the Union territories. E. The Attorney General of India. F. The Comptroller and Auditor General of India. G. The Chairman and members of the Union Public Service Commission. H. The Chairman and members of the Planning Commission. I. The Chairman and members of the Economic Commission whenever appointed. 3. Control over state governments. The Union government may give necessary directions to a state. During President's rule, the control of the Union government over states is complete. 4. Union territories and border areas. The administration of the Union territories and the border areas is the responsibility of the President. Diplomatic powers. 1. The President has the power of appointing Indian ambassadors to other countries. 2. He receives ambassadors, high commissioners, and diplomatic envoys from foreign nations. 3. All treaties and international agreements are concluded in the name of the President. 4. The President represents India in international conferences.
अगर आप अपने सिलेबस के सारे चैप्टर्स इस फॉर्मेट में देखना चाहते हैं तो हमें डिस्क्रिप्शन में दिए गए नंबर पर कॉल करें। ऐसे ही और एजुकेशनल वीडियोस देखने के लिए हमारे चैनल होम रिवाइज को सब्सक्राइब करें।